Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Modern Market, where every day we discuss everything to do with the modern market. That is the crypto market, the NFT market, and our beloved Pudgy Penguin market. Some good stuff going on today, some not so good stuff going on today. We are going to discuss all of it. Loaded up for discussion, we have private and uncensored AI protocol Venice speedrunning to $2 billion after drop on base, plus a Coinbase listing on the very same day. We'll break that down, what's going on there. We've also got Boyco for Berachains opening with $52 million in just a few hours before crashing under the weight of demand. I'll explain what's going on there. I have deposited a little bit in Berachains. I think people will be excited about that. So I'll do a little segment on that. And then finally, Pudgy Penguins are down 25% to 11.5 ETH on the abstract launch. PENGU's also down 15%. So we will be discussing what's going on there, some first impressions of abstract, and a little bit of the lending market that I put a tweet out yesterday. Rahim will be taking us through that to get you up to speed. We've also got latest on price action on crypto and NFTs, and we've got our Polkadot explorations segment today, brought to you by Polkadot, our partners. So stay tuned for that. Legendary is here, Rahim's here. We're ready to get into it. But just a reminder, friends, that nothing that we say here is financial advice. This market is incredibly risky, as today is showing, and we don't know anything for sure. So please proceed with caution and exercise your own judgment. With that out of the way, Rahim, it is Tuesday. It is the 28th of January. How are you doing? How are you feeling?
GM, everybody. I'm feeling good, a bit more zen, been taking a bit of a pause. I went on a walk yesterday night and I just had this conversation with myself that I just need to like slow down a bit. Like I just want to slow down in terms of my capital, in terms of my brain real estate. And
Just
I
making too
came
much
out of
money.
that like but I mean, like I've made money, obviously lost here and there as well. But I was just like, I think at some point I just want to slow down and pause things, especially when things have been just a bit messy in the market. So feeling good, feeling a lot more at peace today, for a lack of a better word.
Interesting. What would you say brought that on? Anything in particular? Just the way that everything was going in the market? Where did the perspective come from?
I feel like the market's pretty chaotic at the moment. I mean, like BTC is not doing that bad, but everything else is just like bleeding. Whether it's alt, whether it's your memes, even when you're looking in the trenches, like people are jumping from meta to meta, like literally. Like if you're not there at the right moment, at the right second, you're just like losing those trades. And I think ever since the Trump token, a lot of the market dynamics have changed. A lot of expectations have changed. And I've seen that. Like I can feel it even in the trenches. I feel like everyone's euphoria of something going from like 200K to 200 million has gone up like overnight. And I think it has just like made this space a bit chaotic. So yeah, I'm just taking a bit slow and steady until markets get a bit more stable.
Sounds like a wise thing to do, to be completely honest. Legendary, what's your thought on that? How are you making sense of all the chaos at the moment?
Yeah, we had a fantastic conversation on that yesterday, and Zeneca also put out a post that I very much agree with. Pulling that up on screen, he said, "I'm a big believer that the most dangerous thing a person can do is try to spend a medium amount of time in the trenches, either be locked in and spend a lot of time, or avoid, because you're competing with people who are locked in 16 plus hours a day." And I do tend to agree with that. The market is chaotic in the sense that we shift from meta to meta extremely quickly. Just look at Trump. Trump's been down for 7 days straight, and that's the president of the United States. And if that is a token that can't keep attention for longer than 70 hours, what realistically can keep the attention? And I think it's, for me, we also had Kashmir, by the way, immediately in the comments saying, now is not the time to slow down. And for me, right now, the positioning is the same that I shared, I think, last week when we discussed that. Majors, stablecoins rotate aggressively into place, but also exit them a couple hours later. Like I don't want to have any position, basically almost barely any position open for longer than a day or overnight. There is none of that going on right now for me. And I somehow, I don't know, aside from ages, I don't know if I'd like, reframe that for myself, but I somehow find that relaxing because I know I am focused for a period of time when I want to trade, when I want to when I see good volume, when there's a play, I exit it fully, take my profits, and then or cut my losses, obviously. But I know it's done. There's no like, what will it do overnight? No more stressing. It feels like it's a basically closed interval of time where I push and focus, and then I can take a break and return. Because the thing is, with the metas rotating so quickly, you don't really like miss out on anything. You don't miss out on an AI arc developing, etc., etc. You can like come back and see, get a feeling what's trending today. Ignore everything that happened the days before. Trump doesn't matter. Like the Trump matters as a person, obviously, but the coin doesn't matter to the VVV token trading yesterday. You can just focus on what's hot this day, and then move on and come back whenever you feel like that. It's very different from what last cycle felt like, but it's interesting. And also, I think what we see is a lot of people, and that's something that B and I, we both spoke about that, kind of feeling a bit desperate. Cycle's been going on for a while. So a lot of people calling for the top. We're saying top is in the next 2 to 4 months, and not everybody obviously has locked in massive gains or sees people locking in massive gains and wants to do the same. And they're stressing, they're getting desperate, and people get way more reckless and aggressive in the way they trade. And I do think that this creates like a general sense of like pressure of some sort on the timeline.
Yes, I can wholeheartedly agree with that like final statement. You're kind of observing certain behaviors from some people where I think that people are under a lot of pressure. They know that this is, things are accelerating fast, and maybe people do things that they would not ordinarily do. I think there's definitely people are feeling under pressure to do things faster. And as you say, the things are rotating faster than ever. If you were there at the time yesterday, I mean, we're going to get into the Venice stuff. It's like, if you're there at the time, great. If you're not, well, you now need to decide if you want to buy at 2 billion or not. See you later. Like, that's it. If you missed it, sorry. Now buy at 2 billion if you want to, or wait for the next one. But the point is, like, the time frames that these things are happening is just incredibly fast at the moment. So interesting perspectives. I think a lot of people are feeling that. I think it's quite helpful to articulate that sometimes, even though we haven't been around that long. Legendary's been around much longer than me in the space, but everyone's feeling it. So you're not alone if you're feeling that level of kind of anxiety. I think sometimes just talking to people about it and just getting it out there. And also, to be fair, I mean, maybe there's no time for things like this in a bull market, but just being grateful for what you have, I've been finding is quite helpful. Like, genuinely comparing yourself to other people, it will slaughter you in this space. And knowing that what you have is enough or good, or that you're doing well in any particular ways, like thinking about those things is genuinely really helpful to just provide yourself some perspective. Maybe a bit too philosophical for a bull market when you're trying to hit the next game, maybe too philosophical for Kashmir in the comments. I don't know if he thinks there's any time for being philosophical like that, but that's what I think. I think it's going to be helpful from a mindset perspective. But look, we want to get into the main stuff as usual. So let's get into the price action, the headlines, and all the good stuff to get you up to speed with everything that's been happening in the market in the last 24 hours. Starting with the majors, we have Bitcoin looking pretty good, up 4% to almost 103K. Very, very solid. ETH is also up 4%. Somehow, it's not even at 3.2K. It's not at 3.3K. It's at 3.191. That is where ETH is at. Solana is up 5% to $240. Just looking at some other things, XRP is up 13%, still above $3, $3.17. That's good there. Looking on the meme coin side of things, we have Doge up 7% to 33 cents. We've got Trump up 14% to 30 cents. So this is one of the days where Trump has jumped up. Pepe's up a few percent. Bonk's up 6%. PENGU is down 16%. One of the big losers on the day, though we will dive into that later because there's bigger stuff going on with the NFTs too, as well as just the broader abstract launch, which I think is tied into all of the PENGU action. So we'll discuss that in more depth as one of the headlines. You've got AI16Z pretty much flat. got Toshi on base, which had already run up aggressively, up another 25%. AIXBT is flat. The AI stuff is pretty much holding where we are. And you've got, yeah, more or less. That's the roundup from the meme side. Getting into the headlines themselves, we have private and uncensored AI protocol Venice speedrunning to $2 billion after drop on base, plus a Coinbase listing. Lots of criticism going towards Coinbase for not listing and not supporting the base ecosystem. That's not the case on this occasion. Listing on the same day. So we'll dive into that in just a little bit. Got Boyco for Berachains launching with 52 million in just a few hours. But that's more than 2 billion now in general on Berachains, I think. I need to double check that number in a second because there were pre deposits on Berachains. So I'll dive into that in just a little bit as well. And then, as we said, Pudgy Penguins declined 25% to 11.5 ETH when I last checked. Although Ryan will give us a fuller update, maybe we'll be slightly lower and explain why we are a little bit later in the show. Abstract launched yesterday. PENGU is also down 15%. So we'll dive into that in a bit. Legendary, what about the NFT market? What's going on there?
Yeah, we do have another flippening, another change of order. It is back. The Bored Apes are back in first place. They are down 3% over the last 24 hours, but at a 12.8 ETH floor, which puts them ahead of the Pudgy Penguins. Pudgy Penguins are down 26% over the last 24 hours, as we just said, 11.3 ETH floor, so it did go a bit lower since you've written the snapshot. Milady's basically flat, down 2%, 5.15 ETH floor for them. Same thing for Doodles, up 1%, 4.5 ETH floor for them. Azuki's down another 4%, 3.8 ETH floor. So basically, we do see the massive correction in Pudgy Penguins, but the rest of the NFT market isn't really moving aggressively in any way, shape, or form.
Okay, remind me, I've got a question for you on Azuki Legendary in a second, or more just a comment. Let me just take everyone through the Web3 roundup first to get everyone up to with everything else. KuCoin needs to pay nearly $300 million fine after pleading guilty to DOJ charges. They're also going to have to exit the US for at least 2 years as part of the settlement. That's interesting to see. Trump's World Liberty Fire buys another $10 million of ETH. MicroStrategy buys another 10,000 Bitcoin at 105K. Mode launches Synth subnet on Bitensa to build decentralized AI that predicts crypto prices. Had a very interesting conversation with the founder of Mode. I think it was last week, who we are working with, doing some very, very interesting stuff on the AI side. And this kind of price prediction stuff with Bitensa. So interesting stuff there. E3 staking protocol Symbiotic shares cryptic video suggesting airdrop today. If you're in Symbiotic, which I am, and you might be as well, maybe there's going to be an airdrop. Pay attention. That might be for you. OpenSea launches OS2 private launch for Genesis holders. Of course, people who held their NFTs thought they might be getting an airdrop, but not yet, or maybe never. Who knows? What you will get is private access to this new platform, which appears to look just like Blur at the moment. And finally, Hivemind announces 6 purchases of Dmitry Cherniak's Lightyears collection. Nice to get some art stuff every now and again. Feels like it hasn't been much time or attention on art recently, but I like to go in that direction every now and again. So Hivemind, remember, there's a huge digital art culture fund. They make significant purchases quite routinely, actually, known to buy a lot of Tyler Hobbs work, a lot of Cherniak work. They've got a bunch of CryptoPunks as well. Yeah, very significant purchases. So that is what is going on there. That's the Web3 roundup to get you up to with everything else in the space. Before we get into the main stuff today, Legendary, I wanted to come to you straight away on a reflection on the Azuki price, and then you can maybe take it in another direction if you want to. The question was, Azukis were around 3 ETH before all the airdrop stuff, before all of the speculation for the anime token. So in terms of from a purely trading perspective, I'm a huge fan of Azuki. I think the culture is awesome. I think they run awesome events. I think they've got diehard super fans, which is like any brand's like thing that you want to aim towards. But from a trading perspective, all of the value, the meat of the trade here was just to buy the NFT pre-speculation and sell it at the top of the speculation and not worry about any of the airdrop, right? Do you think that's probably fair? That's a gap of like 9 or 10 ETH. Didn't they run to like 12 ETH? Nope, I can't hear you.
My bad. They did run to 12.5 ETH. The bottom tick in 2024 was at 2.96 ETH. That was mid-June. They've been between 3 and 4 ETH for basically 3 to 5 ETH for most of 2024. So it's either buy that cheap, wait for the airdrop, claim the airdrop, and keep a free Azuki, essentially, and also book profits, or sell it before the airdrop. Both of those would have been legit strategies. It is, I mean, I kind of said it's it seems brutal, but it's also pretty honest, because the Azuki floor is basically back to the lows that it had hit in 2024, and it kind of shows you that mercenary reason why Azukis have been bought up was to have the airdrop, to speculate on that and to move on. And I don't mean this, you see me like struggling a bit to say that, because I don't mean this in any negative way, and there's an awesome community, and I'm not trying to diminish any of that or any of what the team is building, but the capital flows clearly show that this is being bought up to hype up, or it's being bought up in anticipation of a token, and that is the trade. Either sell it or sell the token, keep the token, whatever you want to do with that, and then sell the asset that you bought to receive the token. It's the rotation that we've seen with Bored Apes as well. And I suppose that unless someone comes up with a smarter mousetrap, it's the rotation of capital that we're going to see with future NFTs doing tokens as well.
Okay. Interesting stuff. I wonder whether we'll park that question and topic then for later, because we're going to go into the Pudgy Penguin stuff. So we'll dive into that a bit more in a bit. We'll come back to you in a second, Crit, Legendary, for any other bits of news that we might have missed. Rahim, anything catching your attention here from the roundup before we get into the main headlines?
I think the OpenSea thing was pretty interesting to see on the timeline. Of course, a lot of people were like roasting, because we all knew people who were like stacking those Genesis NFTs, as they are called. I don't know, are they misspelled on purpose? I'm not even sure, because I saw their CEO tweeted with the M again. I understand he did speculate somewhere saying that it can have more than one use case. So people were still speculating, like, is he hinting at, is there? But I just find it weird that we are just playing like these speculative games on the timeline so much lately, where you're letting people simmer something. I don't even have that NFT, and I got access because I signed up for the email waitlist for OpenSea Season 2. So I was like, what's going on? Like, everyone. So I think, yeah, that's been just like pretty interesting to see. But nevertheless, I feel like I've kind of had like a hot take of what OpenSea. The thing is, everyone's expectation of OpenSea is like zero. And I would argue, just from a business point of view, if there's anyone who's really seen NFT volume go down as a business, it's OpenSea. Sure, Blur saw it, sure, Magic Eden saw it, but they came in way later on. So I feel like in some ways, the way OpenSea has struggled with finances, knew what volume they had compared to now, there's maybe this is like a level of hopium, but I would like to believe as a business, they understand the fallout a bit more. And I would like to believe that they would come up with something to make it right by the people, do things a bit right. And maybe I'm a bit too crazy, but seeing how everyone's so negative about them, I just get this weird gut feeling about it.
I know what you mean, man, but at the same time, from a business perspective, doing right by people means what? Giving them the token so they can sell it as fast as they receive it and just completely extract all the liquidity that you put in the pool. Like, I don't know how this works out well for anyone, because no one wants to hold the OpenSea token. No one's going to do that. The reality is that's the reality, and everyone wants their activity back to from 4 years ago to count. Like, how on earth is this gonna play out? So
It's kind of hard to say. There was this tweet that was put out by Garga yesterday, I believe, and it was a very interesting tweet. He's like, with the current US regulation, there are two ways to look at it. either you think like crime is legal and you just like launch every token and do whatever the hell you want, or you take a completely different approach and you think about, okay, now maybe you can think of giving people some business benefits or some, you know, like profits coming from the company to those NFT holders. And he was like, I want to believe that the second approach is a lot nicer. And I do believe in some, obviously this doesn't even apply to OpenSea, but I just feel like there is room for us to see these speculative assets as more than airdrops and just collectibles, then actually dive into, okay, what can ownership on chain can really feel like, especially if it's for a product or an ecosystem rather than like an IP play, you know?
I like it. I like that thinking. Legendary, come in there.
Yeah, I think it's a tough situation to be in, but then I also want to go to Stats, who has his hand up, because if you're the founder of OpenSea, basically you launched a product that was undeniably one of the leading protocols in Web3, carried throughout the entire NFT hype, lost traction, NFTs lost traction. Everyone is hating on OpenSea right now. Everyone also feels entitled that OpenSea owes them money, because back then, a couple of years ago, they used the protocol. Everyone wants a token. Hell, I want a token because I have nice trading volume. I would like to receive another airdrop for that as well. I'm going to be honest about that. But also, everyone will dump the token because NFTs are not trending. Airdrops are being dumped, and that turns out to be the best strategy in 99% of the cases. Exceptions like Hyperliquid apply, but I still think that if you just dump every airdrop when you receive it and you miss the one that runs, you're still better off than just holding everything and, you know, run tripping those gains, with the one exception that runs. So it's a tough spot to be in, because no matter what you do, people will dump, people will hate you, people won't be happy because either new or old volume won't be rewarded enough. So it's not a position that I would love to be in. It's very, very uncomfortable.
Yeah, interesting stuff. I concur. Stats, you want to come in here? Welcome to the stage, my friend. What are you thinking here on OpenSea?
What's up, guys? Yeah, so I put out a tweet that moved a lot, and it was kind of complaining, or not complaining, but just pointing out that OpenSea's farming program looks exactly like Blur. What it seemed that a lot of people read that as, holy shit, they're not going to give OG artists and traders and people who lost money token. And that was not my point at all. I think, look, they have a program where they're trying to bring liquidity back or whatever. I was just like, I've been very outspoken that I think that just economically and market wise, the Blur incentive structure is destructive. I also know that through my friends who worked at OpenSea during that period, that they were very critical of Blur. So I was like, how are they literally imitating it in such a shameless way? You know, the top 10 get 2.5x points, a loyalty score with the exact same word. Like the scoreboard looks identical to Blur. Like they're like blatantly, like, why are they blatantly imitating something that the community has started to turn against, even though it was controversial at the time? I think broadly speaking, people are glad that Blur farming is over, and B, that they were critical of. I think there's nothing wrong with the fact that they're going to give a lot of their token to people who've lost money, like, you know, on NFTs, or created or made money on NFTs or been traders, and they're going to give some to the current farmers. Like, that in itself, that aspect doesn't bother me. People read my tweet as like, holy shit, I'm not going to get token. And I think that was the wrong takeaway. I think, like, we know nothing. Like, Devin came in and was very vocal. Like, we are going to be giving token to our old users. There's a retro section there. But I think there was that misread of at least what my message was.
So your message was more around the corporate kind of change in strategy?
No, my message is, why are you going to run back the Blur incentive structure, which was destructive to the marketplace, and you were very critical? Like, why would you clone that, you know, pixel for pixel as your farming strategy? Like, that was the point. Not like, holy shit, I'm not going to get it, even though I bought 80 World of Women.
Yeah. This is the
But
challenge.
I accept the idea of them having a farming strategy and them having like a retro airdrop like that. And like the idea that they have some farming strategy plus an airdrop doesn't in itself bother me that much. I mean, the other thing is, we saw what happened to Magic Eden. Like, there's no guarantee that this token's going to be worth anything either.
Yeah,
like,
I think
it's gone from like 8 to 1.
Yeah, like as Legendary said, I think 9 out of 10 probably end up doing that, no matter how they are hyped beforehand. So that's one of the realities. Appreciate Take Stats, and thanks for the insight as always. Look, we've got a lot of important stuff to talk about today. We're going to get into the headlines. Remember, we've got the Venice AI stuff. We've got Boyco and Berachains, and we've got Pudgy Penguins conversation as well. But before we get there, let's get into our Polkadot explorations segment with our partner Legendary. Take it away.
Yeah, let's get into today's Polkadot exploration segment on stablecoins. Polkadot hit an all-time high for stablecoins issuance, with both USDC and USDT at $114 million on their asset hub. And today we want to dive into what you can actually do with your stables on Polkadot. This segment is brought to you by Polkadot, a scalable, interoperable blockchain network governed by the DOT token and community. So the first question first, why is Polkadot perfect for stablecoins? It's actually their interoperability that makes it an ideal network for stablecoin adoption. That means that all 50 plus layer 1 rollups that are integrated with Polkadot can easily issue stablecoins via the asset hub to increase liquidity and distribution across multiple chains. The growth from the start of 2024 to 2025 has been almost a 5x, from around 25 mil at the start of last year to around $114 million now. So where can you put your stablecoins to work on Polkadot? One way you can do that is via Moonwell. That's an open lending, borrowing, and DeFi protocol built on Moonbeam and Moonriver. Just as a bit of an explanation, Moonbeam and Moonriver are sister blockchains, which were deployed as parachains on Polkadot and Kusama, respectively. They are also fully EVM compatible. That means the blockchains can run any smart contract that has been written for Ethereum originally. While Moonwell is available on both Base and Optimism, you can also use it on Moonbeam to supply Tether and earn a 5% APY as a lender. On the borrow side, however, it's worth taking a look at hydration. We've already covered hydration as an innovative DeFi protocol on Polkadot, and it also offers interesting opportunities for stablecoin users. With a borrow APY of just 3% for USDC, hydration makes it pretty cost-effective to borrow stables. Pair this with Moonwell's supply APY of 5% on Moonbeam, and you have a pretty powerful duo for stablecoin strategies. But please do remember that typical smart contract risks and risks associated with borrowing and lending, including liquidation, do apply. However, zooming out for a second, President Trump recently signed an executive order making stablecoins a priority for promoting the sovereignty of the US dollar while banning further work on central bank digital currencies. So we definitely expect more opportunity in this arena in general and on Polkadot specifically. Shout out to Polkadot for sponsoring this segment and enabling us to explore the growing ecosystem. Stay tuned for more Polkadot explorations as we continue our journey.
Like it. Like the focus on stablecoins. We're obviously very bullish. Stablecoins on chain. The numbers are going up across the charts. So there'll be more things to do. More things to do, more things to explore when it comes to stablecoins. Let's keep it moving then, Legendary. We're going into the main headline of the day. Private and uncensored AI protocol Venice speedruns to $2 billion after the drop on Base. You've got a Coinbase listing as well. Break it down for us. What do we need to know? And what are the thoughts?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's do it. Let me bring up the tab. There we go. So Venice is a privacy-focused, maybe that is important as a bit of context, is a privacy-focused protocol that lets you access LLMs like ChatGPT, like DeepSeek, the Chinese one that we spoke about yesterday, in a way that claims that all of the data that you input is stored locally, is stored in your browser, and is not shared with the companies who are hosting those LLMs. And it was already possible to sign up for Venice via Wallet Connect. There has been an FAQ that said you are collecting points for just using that and asking questions, interacting with the LLMs as normal. But there wasn't an announcement of an airdrop or any more hints on the website other than that. And yesterday they did drop a token, which honestly did insanely well. As you said, it did speedrun to a $2 billion FTV. Not only did that happen, the Coinbase listing was announced, trading went live the very same night. There's been a lot of controversy as an afterthought of that. Also tied to the fact that the founder, Eric Voorhees, has pretty interesting lore and history in Web3, not only being the founder of Shapeshift, the centralized exchange, but more importantly, being the founder of Satoshi Dice, which back more than 10 years ago was a gambling protocol on BTC where you could roll the dice and gamble for BTC, which he sold for more than 120,000-ish Bitcoin, back then worth 12 mil, today worth more than 12 bill. So pretty insane deal, and obviously has built an incredible network and is very, very well connected, has very deep pockets. And many people have said, look, this protocol just launches yesterday and gets speed tracked to have a listing on Coinbase. And Virtuals was the comparison that the timeline has mentioned, has been working for a while and did not get the listing. So that has been one part where the conversation has been going. Another part where the conversation has also been going is the question, is it really that privacy focused? Because the way that it works is that the data that you are inputting is sent to decentralized GPU providers who are then basically running the LLM. And it's not the case that the model is obviously completely running in in your browser, on your computer. And there's also been basically the counterpoint being made to that it was never the point to say this is fully private and everything runs on your device, but there's just an obfuscation layer between you as the user and OpenAI or DeepSeek on the other end, and there's an obfuscation layer in the middle, which is Venice, which is decentralizing those requests, processing your requests on decentralized GPU clusters, and then running them back to you. Is kind of, in layman's terms, a middleman between you and the AI provider, and that was the goal of that. So this was another line of criticism. And then in terms of the distribution, what was interesting to see is the token did launch on Base, and the token actually came with a very generous airdrop for people holding various tokens like Virtuals, like Aero, the token of Aerodrome, which is a DEX on Base, prominent agents, AIXPT, Vader, Trust, all received airdrops. Airdrops did range from just a couple VV tokens, which still adds up pretty quickly, as VV has been trading at $21-ish at all-time high. I think it's currently trading at $16, to pretty significant airdrops like the one that Zeneca has shared on his timeline. His airdrop was 9,000 tokens, which put it at around 200K at all-time high, and it's still a six-figure airdrop for him, even at current prices. So to sum it up, very insane launch in terms of the speed that it did go to $2 billion FTV, not market cap. I should have added that before. Pretty fascinating how fast that Coinbase listing was executed. Criticisms in terms of that speed for the listing, and questioning the privacy model of the tool in general.
One just immediate comment. So amazing summary. I think that's covered a lot of the information from different directions. One just initial comment. What amazing timing. Like, this protocol has obviously been a functioning product for quite some time. The what's it called? What is it? Legendary? DeepSeek. The DeepSeek stuff literally just happened a few days ago. Album was happening over the weekend, and then it was going live yesterday. Like, what unbelievable timing for them to have, because the way that it was positioned in some way was they're showing the ChatGPT, which is too expensive. There was also some conversation around the Chinese version, maybe not. You don't want to give your, the argument is you don't want to give your information to the CCP on that side. This is the middle solution. This is the argument, at least, that, it's not going to be censored like some might be. It's also not going to be in unsafe hands, as some might be. This is the middle ground that maintains your privacy and whatever. So it's like, given that whole conversation was just happening before our eyes, I thought the timing was just, they couldn't have asked for better timing, I guess. And it would have been impossible to time that, this must have been pre-planned, especially with the Coinbase listing. So I guess sometimes your stars just align and things just work out super well for you, right? That's my initial thought. Any further reflections, Legendary? You mentioned the listing stuff. Well, actually, maybe a little bit more on the product first, actually. So there's actually a staking functionality as well, right? Do you want to touch on that a little bit? Why is that interesting? You know, how does that kind of tie into the rest of the stuff?
Yeah, the staking functionality is pretty interesting. Let me just get the website up. I do need to connect my wallet for that, because I need a second for that. I'm sorry.
That's all right. While you're doing that, Rahim, what was your reflections on it? Did you see it? Did you get involved? What are your reflections?
I did. I got in. I didn't get a big airdrop with it, but I ended up putting in some money. And the reason I ended up putting, obviously, he has like these amazing accomplishments. But this is something I want to leave everyone in the audience to watch after you're done with the show. One of my favorite videos that exist in crypto is a keynote speech that Eric Voorhees gave last year in Consensus. I think 2023, actually, Consensus. It's a beautiful. I think the speech is essentially titled "Why Decentralization." It's a 20-minute keynote, but it's so inspiring. It's so, yeah, it's like, it's very philosophical, but it like really makes you understand that why we are here, what are we doing, what is the importance of all of this. And I would like really push for everyone to give it a shot, because he's a very smart guy and he really knows what he's talking about.
I like it. Like the recommendation. I have not seen that yet. My other point, which I'll come back to you, Legendary, in a second. If you're ready, just let me know. This is where like law is really important, I think. So, for example, we were chatting after it all happened a little bit. Like when you're trying to make decisions on this type of stuff, knowing that the guy was the guy who sold Satoshi Dice for like 120 something thousand Bitcoin is relevant. Like it's very, very relevant in this space, I think, or whether people like it or not. It seems to be the case. If you have very wealthy founders who have some pedigree for whatever reason, whether that's completely justified because they're exceptional founders, or maybe in this case, look, I don't know the history perfectly, but they've definitely sold certainly for a lot of Bitcoin at the time. It's relevant to know this kind of history about the people, because ultimately these protocols are about people. It also means that, I think you mentioned Legendary is very well connected in the space. It's like, well, that's always reflected in performance, because it means that you're able to attract higher quality investors, higher quality backers. Now, I believe there was actually no private sales in this. I think that was a very important point that they made. It was like literally 50% going to the community, 25% of which was like one set of the community, 25% was for another. So even though there was no initial investors, I think it gives a lot of confidence when people have that kind of history in the space. Coming straight back to you, Legendary, any reflections on that before you maybe talk to the product a touch?
Yeah, absolutely. It tells you that, well, that person doesn't need to rug the token for a gain of a couple millions, because he's way, way wealthier than that, plus wants to protect his reputation, but also showcases the network that he has. I think before the Coinbase listing, some documents circulated on X that kind of showed where the token is tradable, and it said Aerodrome and it said Coinbase next to it. So just the docs that circulated basically showed, okay, there was confidence that a Coinbase listing is coming for that. I do think that still the timing of that being on day one was very, very surprising to see. And in terms of the actual product, for the staking, I can quickly show the staking website. I've been using Venice for a while, actually. However, I cannot translate it to English. It defaults to German all the time for me. But basically, on the staking interface, you would lock up your tokens for 7 days. And the reason why you want to stake is threefold. A, you get a share of Venice's total API capacity based on your pro rata stake. That means if you stake 1% of the total token supply, you get 1% of Venice's total API capacity indefinitely. That means if you want to use the API to use Venice to run AI agents that use DeepSeek in the background, and you want to do that at a massive scale, or you are an agentic launch platform like Virtuals and you want to use this in the background, then it actually might make sense from a business model perspective to look at how much is it to acquire X% of all the tokens, probably also in an OTC deal. I'm not going to buy that spot from Venice, the VVV tokens to do that, versus finding another provider who's offering the same for you. Zero cost inference for generative text, images, and code, and emissions-based staking yield. Yield on staking your VVV currently, it's obviously pretty high because it's just launched. Not a lot of people have staked yet. Started at 2,000% APY, is currently at 500% APY. We do need to wait to see how that will evolve. Also, one final comment, because I didn't mention it previously, because there was a lot of info already on the token supply. As you said, 50% were airdrop, 25% to token holders like Virtuals and others, 25% to their own community pro users who have been using Venice since October. And those claims expire in 45 days. So not a lot of the airdrop supply has been claimed yet. I do expect that more people who are, quote unquote, Web3 native as base users, Virtuals holders, will see some of the viral posts on that tell you, how go to this website and claim it. You need to actively claim, actually need to sign a TNC sheet to be able to claim the airdrop. It's not going to magically show up in your wallet. But for the quote unquote regular Venice user, I don't think that a lot of them will claim that if they haven't been onboarded to Web3 yet. Now, probably there is a strong overlap between people using Venice and people being in crypto, but still, that will be an interesting number to monitor how much of that airdrop will be claimed and what will happen after those 45 days with the unclaimed part of the airdrop.
I like it. I like it because Legendary was actually using the product a little bit. I like that we dove in a little bit to on the product side and explained that. Yes, it's exciting when something goes to 2 billion in like a few hours, but at the same time, I think it's an interesting product as well. So thanks very much for the summary and the analysis. Let's keep it moving. We've only got 11 minutes left. We've got to do Berachain and Pudgy's in the same time.
Can we quickly go to Funky on that for a quick comment, because I'm really curious what he has to say on Venice. Funky, welcome to the stage.
No, just real quick, because I know we're stressed for time. But yeah, Vader stakers, a lot of us had a big probably allocation coming that we're not going to get because we were staked. So hopefully that get worked out. But I just wanted to tell a quick funny story about having tokens in your own custody. So I was just texting my brother-in-law. He has massive Arrow bags, and they're all sitting on Coinbase. And I was like, please tell me you took those into self-custody, because I was trying to get him to hey, maybe make the claim. And unfortunately, his giant pile of Arrow is all sitting on Coinbase. So I wonder what that means to your point about the people who maybe are not fully in crypto, who maybe have an allocation and they're not going to get the airdrop.
I mean, yeah, it usually just means you don't get it. Yeah. It's one of those unfortunate situations, but appreciate the note there. Little reminder of the advantages of being fully on chain, although there are obvious drawbacks as well from the security side. So right, let's keep moving. Appreciate that, Funk. Let's get into the Berachain stuff. I'm going to rattle through this fast because I want to give Rahim proper time on the Penguin stuff. Berachain's Boyco is live. Legendary, if you could just share the screen. So what is Boyco? Boyco is a pre-launch liquidity platform designed to support applications within the Bera ecosystem. The way it works is dApps create liquidity markets. LPs commit capital for specific durations. Assets are bridged across, and then liquidity is deployed. At the moment, there is, I believe, there's two kind of things were happening. One, this is like the main event when it's gone live. There's 53 million that was in TVL, although the site just crashed recently. So I don't know if that's able to update at the moment. But in total, including all the pre-deposits, because this is technically like a pre-deposit, they actually did pre-deposits beforehand. The number of the TVL number that we're up to, according to Enzo, which is one of the teams who are building this at the moment, is 2.15 billion Boyco TVL at the moment. specific protocol that seems to have taken the most when this launched just a few, under 24 hours ago, was origami. So this is the one like I'm probably going to take a look at. DCF God actually wrote a quick explainer on it. I'm just going to share it on the screen if you're watching in with us. He said Boyco vaults are open again and OrigamiFi is taking the majority of them. Basically how it works is you deposit USDC, they farm with it on Berachain in the USDC honey pool. After 3 months, users get back the same amount of USDC they deposited and plus bearer from Boyco plus 40% APR in origami at an assumed 69 million FDV. So you're kind of farming various things at the same time. You're providing USDC, you're providing it onto Berachain, so you're kind of getting exposure to the bearer token. You're also providing it into origami, the protocol. Therefore, you're getting exposure to the origami token, which is going to come. The one point to note is that whenever this does go live again properly, the APR that is being shown, the amount of interest that you're going to earn is incredibly skewed high because it does not currently include the 2 billion of TVL from the various vaults that haven't come in yet. So that's what I mean about this is kind of like a pre-deposit. And that's what, there's maybe 50 million or so in this pre-deposit, but there's 2 billion in the pre-deposit. And so all of the numbers at the moment, when you're looking in thinking, oh, wow, I'm going to earn 388% APR, like it's not going to be that number because all of those other funds are going to come in as well. So just to keep that in mind, keep that in mind as you're going over. But it's something I've definitely been looking at. I've put some funds over. I think it'll be interesting. And I'm definitely have been looking for some bearer exposure. Rahim, coming to you here. Any reflections on Berachain? Are you interested? What are you thinking? Before we then move into the Penguin stuff for you.
I mean, it's one ecosystem. We spoke about this, I think, 2 days ago that I'm like really not involved in it. So I'm happy to just like brush over to the next topic.
Okay, let's do it then. My final point on that though is I think it's worth thinking about. Like, I think there's two groups of people in crypto. Well, there's obviously many more. I'm hyper simplifying for 1 second. There's this whole NFT community from which I think a lot of us actually started, although we're moving a lot more into crypto. And I think a lot of the people who came up in the NFT side are like hyper focused on abstract. Like abstract is everything to them, deep connections with Pudgy Penguins. That's where the affiliation is. That's where all the connection is. So they're hyper focused on abstract. I think Berachain is maybe a bit more core crypto from all the conversations that they've been having. Definitely far more focused on DeFi, for example. I haven't seen much being spoken about DeFi on abstract. And so I think, it's obviously a very, very different value prop, but I think it's going to be a valuable one. And given that these two things seem to be happening at the same time, I'm quite inclined to think that Bearer will be a very valuable one. Abstract might be valuable in one way, but I think Bearer is going to be valuable in a different way. Rahim, you mentioned the Penguins, so have I been mentioning them? Let's get into it. We've got 5 minutes. What's been going on? NFTs are down, Pengu's down. What's the situation?
Perfect. Awesome. So abstract launched yesterday at around like between 10 a.m. to 11 EST. The RPCs and like the chain went live a couple of minutes before, a good 15-20 minutes before they put out like some tweets. So people started like testing it out. The UI UX looks absolutely like very clean, very beautiful. Right now, from my understanding and the way it's positioned, is they haven't launched a lot of core protocols for people to start using yet. So I think like the whole idea was for people to kind of get used to the ecosystem, to kind of see how the UI kind of looks like. The way the chain, the way they're positioning themselves is like, the way I like to frame it is way more quest related ecosystems where you're getting XPs through actually consuming the products rather than you farming it through a regular TVL ecosystem. That's the way they positioned it so far. So yesterday, of course, like after about 2 hours, they put out like a tweet essentially talking about how if you hold Pudgy Penguins and PENGU, you get like a certain XP boost. So you obviously have certain XP that you're getting every single So you're getting it for consuming products, but you find out what those numbers are by the end of the week. So you don't know what actual allocation is between different dApps, and you get an additional boost, which is what we have on the screen right now, which is your different roles, different allocations for PENGU. So yesterday, when they put out a tweet of how this categorization works, the market took it in a negative way. So if we were just to look at like the PENGU allocation, they've given PENGU 3 tiers. At the numbers I was looking at, if you're looking at it 1.6 FDV, this is PENGU 1 is you need to hold $1,600. PENGU 2 would be $16,000, and PENGU 3 would be $160,000. The issue, there is big disparity between these two groups. So if you're holding, let's say, like 80,000 PENGU, then you're essentially just trading the price speculation, not really getting a benefit to these ecosystems. So that's something that heavily impacted the PENGU price. The Pudgy Penguins also, although they have like a pretty good boost, but because there is no real understanding at the moment of what XPs are you getting from particular products, I feel like the market essentially reacted in a negative way. I think in a week's time, when we actually have the XPs come out next week, we're going to get like a better understanding of, okay, how do these numbers actually work? There's also some issue that people haven't been able to connect their Discord yet. I see you've been able to connect. I haven't been able to connect. It keeps giving me an error. And I have the elite role. I have Pudgy Penguins and PENGU. So I want to see how that plays out. So I believe there's some discrepancy in terms of like not all things are functioning as well they should at the moment. So I guess we're going to have some clarity, but definitely the market didn't take it in a nice way. I assume there was a whole group of people expecting Abstract to drop on day one, which is absolutely wild. Like if you're out there spending like 40, 50, $60,000 on JPEGs, but you're not educated enough to realize that, oh, like chains wouldn't launch their like native token on day one. I don't know what to tell you. I think like it's important to kind of like zoom out, look at other chains, look at how like Blast launched, how ApeChain did, how Berachain, Monad, how all of them are doing. So I think it's important to see that. Don't be over leveraged with your tokens, with your NFTs, and kind of just like zoom out and educate yourself of what are the nuances of different ecosystems. At the same time, what are the similarity between all chains?
Don't be over leveraged. We're going to go straight to the leverage that is existing in the ecosystem. Legendary, I want to respect people's time. We've only got a few minutes left, so I'm going to do this bit on the NFTs themselves, and then I'll come to you to ask like which way round is this? Is this the PENGU price going down affecting the NFT? Is it the NFT price going down affecting PENGU? We'll come to you for that in a second. But talking of leverage, Rahim, you said don't leverage. I wrote this tweet a little bit earlier today. I said there's a terrible situation in the Penguin lending books at the moment. The gray dots indicate the number of NFT loans which are seeking refinancing. So if you look at the Blur lending chart at the moment, it's up on screen. Oh, yeah, there you go. What you can see is the gray dots indicating the number of NFT loans which are seeking refinancing. And if you're not watching in, basically there are a lot of gray dots. There's a lot of gray dots that need a loan because the floor price keeps going down and more lenders keep pulling their loans. Remember, this is how perpetual lending works on Blend. No one's obligated to stay in the loan. The borrower can pay it back at any time. The lender can pull it at any time, and you just assume that the free market will come in at some point in time as the price of the loan rises, that you think, okay, well, a lender will be enticed by the loan at some point in time and will come and provide it. Obviously, in circumstances where the price is going down rapidly, what happens is there is no lender that comes in. That NFT then gets liquidated, and then it ends up in the hands of the lender. The lender does not want that NFT because they were just lending, and so they sell it immediately into the bid. And so that the process kind of can probably best be described as like cascading liquidations, where that just keeps happening over and over again as the price goes down. And the issue at the moment with the NFTs is that there are a lot of loans that need refinancing, and I can't see many people stepping in to take any of these loans. Like I'm looking at the live chart right now, Legendary, the one that you've got up on the screen is looks bad, but the live one potentially, I don't know if this is worse or better. What you can see here is, yeah, like all of those gray dots are loans, are Pudgy Penguin NFTs that need someone to come in and provide liquidity. What you can see here is the floor price at 11.45 ETH. Everything to the right of that is a loan that needs more than 11.45 ETH. So they're not going to get a lender, obviously, because the value of the NFT is less than the value of the loan. So they're going to get liquidated, and I assume the lenders are going to want to sell them. And then you've got all these other ones that now need some liquidity injected into them, or some lenders as well. So it's a bit of a precarious position at the moment. Needs either buyers to step in or lenders to step in to shift that floor price higher and take some pressure off the whole situation. But Legendary, coming straight to you here, we've just got a couple of minutes as we close out. Reflections here on either Abstract, the connection to the NFT, connection to Pengu, the whole ecosystem. What are you thinking?
Yeah, a couple of thoughts. A, website looks beautiful. If this is the first time you're interacting with blockchain, it's actually an experience that is not scary. You don't have wallets that you need to install as browser extensions. You don't have weird pop-ups that you don't understand what you do with them. It's actually, it looks very nice. So that's definitely a plus. The negative side of that is, and that's also a sentiment that Overarch has been sharing in the comments, Overarch has been saying, my only issue with Abstract is the lack of a DeFi protocol like Wasabi with vaults, where I can just stick ETH in passively. I've been sharing my screen before. I think there was obviously my account that I pulled up with 9 point something K on Abstract. I want to deposit way more, but then I was like, what do I do with that actually? I don't know where to put it. Obviously those things will come, but to me it felt like, as a Web3 native user, there was no incentive for me to want to bridge capital over, which definitely was the case with Blast, where people have been pre-depositing for a while, which is the case with Bera. That's a completely different approach. It's also cool to try a different approach, but that was my first quick reflection. Okay, what do I actually do with that? And then in terms of the communication, I think you have to piece a lot of things together. Like if I share that, and I know we are over time, so I'm going to keep it short. If you go to the Abstract side, which I'm sharing on screen, and you go to the Pengu holder thing, there's this little tooltip that says Pengu plans to have a significant time with Abstract in the near future, but for now enjoy extra XP. Then we talked about the bonuses as well for the different things that they are to hold. So the path to success is not really clear right now. And I do think that in light of this uncertainty of what XP, how it actually works, you don't see how it's distributed. Will there be an airdrop? How will the airdrop work for holders? Then the very, very vital point that Rahim was making in saying that basically it's not a sliding scale. There's 3 tiers of Pengu, and the discrepancy between that is pretty big, because if you're stuck in the middle and you can afford to put in 4K or 40K, but not jump up to the next tier, and for exit basically for each of those tiers, what do you do? Do you multi-account to optimize your Pengu holdings, which is also not really a nice thing to do, especially not because everything is set up with the Abstract Global Wallet, which has multi-factor authentication, and you have Google Authenticator with 6 sets of 2FA codes. Not a very feasible solution. So those are some of the drawbacks and uncertainties, which probably, in my opinion, led to both the sell-off in the NFTs as well as Pengu. And I don't think that one is causing the other to drop. It's just both have a different set of uncertainties, and things are not clear. So both are selling off for their very own reasons.
I think I'm in agreement there. I also think what Rahim said made a lot of sense, in the sense that look, if you to the extent that you're holding these assets for more rewards, that day is not today. The day is not tomorrow. It's not next week. There's going to be a process before those assets give you any reward. So people are impatient in this space, so sometimes that happens. But a lot of questions, a lot of good stuff, a lot of questions that we have. I think it'll be really, really exciting to ask Luca those questions, because we have him booked for Friday. Luca will be our next guest on Friday. Cannot wait to have him on with us. I'm sure there's been so much stuff going on with Abstract at the moment. So we really appreciate that he will join us. And yeah, we'll be asking all of these questions, the nice ones, the harder ones, the interesting ones. Really looking forward to that convo. Hope you can all be with us for that. Right, we went a little bit over today. Apologize for that. Have a wonderful day. Take care. Remember, we do this every single day, Monday to Friday at 7 a.m. Eastern time for 1 hour. Have a wonderful day. Take care. And we will see you again tomorrow, of course. Bye-bye.